Welcome to Monkey Talk, brought to you by
The Four Monkeys Wrestling Podcast.
All right. We are live, but we're having a technical issue that I have just fixed, and now we are live, and now we are good to go.
Now we're good to go. Well, everybody, it's Thursday Night Live.
Ooh, loud
and
again.
I always am loud
Hot
when
mic.
I do these
Hot
intros,
mic.
man.
Hot mic.
Always. We are live. We got Christopher here, and tonight we are joined by a man who stands somewhere between 6'8" and 6'10", depending on who you listen to and what website you look at. He comes in at somewhere around 295 pounds. He is a multiple-time singles competitor champion. He is a multiple-time tag team champion. He is the Heathen, Logan Creed. Welcome, sir, to the show.
So I think Scott just lost his job. You're taking over the announcing at Action right off the bat.
I would love to do something like that. It would be so, just for one match, it would be so amazing just to be able to do that. I wouldn't care who it was for, where it was. It would be awesome to do.
As long as you say the part where he's either 6'8" or 6'10", we don't know. It's somewhere.
He's somewhere in between.
I love that.
Well, Logan, welcome to the show tonight. We're glad to have you on. Thank you for taking the time of joining us.
Thank you guys, man. I've been looking forward to it.
We like to hear that.
So we were able to catch up with you at one of the old Action shows, but we wanted to have a more formal sit down. We've braced the pod, so we should be okay. I made sure that everything is tied down, so we believe we're ready to go. So we're gonna try to get started here, and we'd like to start all our interviews with how people began, and not necessarily how you began wrestling, but what was young Logan Creed like? Little Logan Creed growing up, what was he like?
I was an introvert kind of kid, believe it or not. I always tell people I had the best of both worlds growing up. My dad was kind of the sports guy, and athleticism is kind of where I got that. But then I had an older brother, or an uncle, but I called him older brother. He's only a few years older than me. He was more the comic guy, and he liked to draw, and he was on the whole other end of the spectrum, video games and all that. So I had this great combination of the two, you know what I mean? And I kind of didn't ever really fit in with any crew of people because I was playing sports, but I didn't really like all the things they liked outside of sports. Like I just liked sports. Then I wanted to go and play video games, So it was, I was just a weird kid growing up. Like I kind of didn't really ever fit in any social environment because I was just all over the place. And I didn't realize at the time that I actually fit in everywhere because I liked a little bit of everything, you know what I mean? So I figured that out later on in life.
What did you grab onto? Like it's tough when you have so much variety, but what were the things that like you really gravitated to the most?
It was definitely, wrestling obviously was that, that was the one thing that I kind of found friends in growing up, because we all watched it together and participated in it together, as kids. So that was definitely one of the things. And like I said, wrestling in school and football, that was a huge thing for me. And then comics, that was the other side of my life. I wanted to be a superhero. Like we literally spent years of my life pretending that we were superheroes as kids. So yeah, I mean, like I said, those three things are really the things that I attached to growing up.
Were you a big kid? Like, I always wonder, like, these bigger adults, were you
So
like that big also when you were a kid?
this is what's fun is people always like, oh my god, you probably walked out when you were born. I was actually tiny, and even my own son, like when he was born, he was tiny, and now he's on his way to probably being bigger than I am. But no, I didn't really start out bigger than all the other kids. I think I hit my growth spurt when I got to high school. When I graduated, I was 6'5", and then I put on 3 more inches after high school. So I was still growing, and I was a young graduate. I graduated at 17. So yeah, I was still developing even after high school, obviously. So, but no, it wasn't. It didn't become apparent that I was going to be a giant until probably junior year.
I'm still trying to get to that 6'5". I'm working on it. I figure maybe by senior high school I'll be there.
6'5", you'll be lucky if you get to 6'2".
Hey, easy. I can wear bigger
Lifts.
shoes.
There you go. Get some lifts.
Yeah. Just put
We'll
the
get you
lifts
some
in.
lifts.
So let's talk about wrestling and how it gets into your life and how you start falling in love with it. What stood out in wrestling that grabbed your attention?
Honestly, the thing that stood out the most when I first started watching wrestling, and probably my earliest memories from my grandparents' house, was the community of people around would come and watch the old NWA pay-per-views on at my grandpa's house. He was the only person that had a satellite dish that could get it. So I remember watching them watch wrestling and literally standing up screaming and throwing things at the television. Like, it was insane. Like, it literally was, they believed it. They fed into it. And it was an event. It was something, it was like Thanksgiving, or that's what we did. And everybody was there. And it was like a big, huge social event. So that was what I first remember about it. And even at that age, I really had invested into what was going on. I just knew how they were reacting to it. And then later on, I started watching it because he would tape everything. And so I just had hours and hours of old wrestling tapes. And I've told this story before, but I think I watched Arcade 87 like 200 or 300 times as a kid. Like, during the summer, I would just play it over and over.
Wore out the tape.
Yeah, no, literally. I mean, it was like, I met Nikita Koloff recently at a show. And I literally had to tell him, I was like, man, I watched you and Terry Taylor probably 500 times. Like, I was like, I love that match. Like, I'd still watch it. I still like to watch it. And he kind of just shrugged it off, like, oh, that's cool. But I mean, it will always mean something to me because I've seen it so many times, and it will always be one of my favorite pay-per-views just because it was the one that I had growing up.
So you watch something that many times, I have to imagine you start mimicking or imitating or acting out an entire match because you have it memorized at that point.
Yeah.
Is that when you go, I could do this? I could be a wrestler?
Yeah, no, that was, I mean, it was always that way. We were wrestling. I mean, me and my brother and my uncle, like, that's all we did. We were always wrestling. Like I said, we would wrestle as superheroes. So we would have matches as superheroes, but we were wrestling. Like, it was crazy, the stuff that we did. But, I guess when I finally, I graduated high school, and I kind of let it go for a little while. And I was doing sports in college. And when I quit playing football and I transferred to East Georgia, for whatever reason, I had that urge. I wanted to do it. And then I was approached by a professor at the college about doing it. And so that's kind of how the door opened, because I didn't really know, how you're talking back in 04, before, MySpace was just coming out. So it wasn't like there was, a Nightmare Factory up the road, or all these great schools that we have now available. There wasn't any. They had the Power Factory for WCW, and then I didn't even know that existed at the time. So it was just a chance thing that I started training, and literally the rest is history. I just started traveling, and back then it's the same deal. You couldn't message somebody on Facebook about a booking. Normally you had to either show up or somebody had to know you or you had to send a VHS tape of your match. Yeah, that was a thing. It really happened. And then you may not ever hear back, you know. You can't even see if they read it. There's no, you can't, the bubble doesn't show up and show that they read the message. They probably just toss it out. So, yeah, it's a different time now. And that was a lot of the reason why I think, you know, there was a lot of reasons, but I kind of got out of it even after I started wrestling after about 5 years, just because I knew that I wasn't going anywhere. I knew that I wasn't good and I wasn't really getting anything out of what I was doing other than losing money and staying on the road. So I left for probably 5 years and then come back in 2012. And so I think that's really when it started. You know, 2012 to 2015, I was getting back in the groove. And by 2015, I had like kicked it into gear. And I'm like, all right, you know, I'm fixing to make a run at this. And so here we are.
I need to ask one question. I know this goes way back. You just told a great like interlude for Chuck now to talk about your wrestling training, but I need to know, superhero with a cape or without a cape?
Without a cape. I've never cared for the capes.
We're good. We can continue on.
We
We're
can
good.
continue.
We're good. We're good. So you mentioned that a professor at East Georgia came up to you and asked you what was that conversation like? Was it just like, hey, you're a big dude and you look like you can wrestle? I could show you.
Well, no, that's actually, you know, I was wrestling for the college.
Okay.
So I was just in the gym working out one day, and you know, he approached me and asked me. He's like, "Man, you like professional wrestling?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I love it." You know, and he said, "Well, you should come to check out a show." So that was how it was, and I looked into it, and actually, I ended up training at a different show than the one he was doing because it was in Statesboro, but you know, it was right there where I was going to school. They ran a local indie show, and I went, paid the money, started training during the week, like between classes and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't. You know, people ask me like, "Oh, well, who trained you?" And I always say, "I'm like Sean Hunter," and they're like, "Oh, well, who's that?" You know, because Sean never, you know, he never made it to that next level.
Mm-hmm.
And hell, he was as green as grass when he was training me. You know, he was 2 years in, but like I said, it was just a different time, and people were breaking into the business different ways. You know, some people would just show up and had never been trained a day in their life, but they had something that looked like gear, and they said that they were wrestlers. There was no way to fact check them.
Yeah.
You know.
Now you mentioned you did wrestling in college. I have to ask, being as large as you are, were you ever pinned in a match?
Often, and that's the only. I did not win a whole lot, but I was not pinned very often either, and it was because of my length. Like the people just could not. It was just aggravating to try to on me.
That's too funny. So you started in you talked about you got a little bit of training from the school, from the professor and everything. You got a little bit of training from Sean Hunter. You played sports. I'm assuming that you've gotten hit during football. What's the comparison, and was the bump in the ring different than anything that you had felt previously in sports?
Yeah, absolutely. It was. I mean, it was completely different than anything I had experienced. You know, I remember that first week, and the training for that. You know, I literally all I did was bump for like a month. Like they just ran me, and I just took an ass whipping every day. You know, I didn't learn anything else. I wasn't learning moves. I wasn't learning how to do anything except for fall. So yeah, man, it was completely different. A completely different feeling. The body, you know, now at this point, it's repetitious, and you know, I don't really feel it anymore. But man, I can remember those next mornings and wondering whether or not I really, really wanted to do this.
And you're a taller guy, so it's a further distance to the ground.
Exactly.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
That's physics.
Yep.
How do you think the guys feel that I'm doing stuff to? That's the one thing I always love to hear is like, oh my God, I've never. It's like taking a top rope bump every time.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I love it. So I totally lost my train of thought there. First, I'm thinking of like everybody up on the top rope, just because just the power bombs in some of your matches that I've seen are just epic. That you give to these guys, and they're not all small guys that you have given that to. So kudos to you and kudos to them to be able to do all that. Action wrestling, we've seen you there a couple of times. You've wrestled let's see, Orion Bishop, you had a win. You wrestled Octavius Black, you had a win. Earlier on, you wrestled O'Shea Edwards, I think in Tennessee.
That's right.
It did not come out on top in that one. But in the latest match against the suplex assassin, Mr. Alex Kane, who we'll be talking to next week, you came out on top. What is it like to be in the ring at Action, when there's only 35 spectators there or so? What's the feeling in the building when you walk from out behind that curtain in the back, or the stanchion thing, whatever Matt's got?
Then Action is one of those shows, and I tell people this all the time. I love that crowd. I don't care if it's only 35, because they make it feel like it's a room of 500. They really do. And it's because they have this love and passion for wrestling that's different than the old school typical Georgia wrestling fan. And that's not a knock, because I love those fans. They eat up that old school Memphis style wrestling. But Action has done a really good job of integrating this modern era of wrestling into the Georgia scene. And you can see it in the matches. You can see it, like you said, in the crowd of 35 people who are on their feet and, appreciating what's going on. And I love that. I think that's great. I think that is the evolution of what we do. I think that's the evolution of wrestling. It's been evolving to that for a long time, whether people want to accept it or not. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the people who are, paying money to watch this, to just appreciate the visual of what's happening. You know what I mean? And I love that. I think it's great, because they really do. And like I said, there's 35 of them, but to me, there's 500 in there because they love it with everything in them. And that's why they're there.
And when you watch it on iwtv live, and you can get a 5-day free trial by using the code ACTION.
It's a good plug.
Right? You get that sense. Now, Action's next event is February 12th. We have no information on if you're going to be there or not. We won't even ask, because we know we're not going to get an answer, yes or no. But at this point in time, with the wrestlers that you have seen in and around Action, is there someone within the promotion that you would want to have a match with?
This is going to blow your mind. There's one guy that I've never had a singles match with, and we've known each other for years, Matt Sells. It's never happened. And to me, I think that would be a very interesting concept.
The boozerweight against the Heathen. I like it.
Those are, two streaks that are currently going on. Maybe they meet at some point.
I don't know. Maybe.
But no, everybody on, all the guys. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to come into Action so much, was because of the talent that Matt has, the guys that he was bringing in. We plugged IWTV, but he's getting all of us opportunity to be seen outside of there. Mm-hmm. And in today's world, that goes so far, and he's so unselfish when it comes to that, because that's literally his goal, is to get guys that he sees and appreciates out there and to that next level. And a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people don't care. They're about what they're doing, and that's all there is. And there's nothing wrong with that either. But it's nice to have somebody like that in your corner, and that's trying to do that. You know what I mean? And trying to help these guys out, because it's hard, especially in today's world, and with everything that happened last year. I think for the first time ever, literally all of the wrestlers, everybody, we were all in the same boat. We were all struggling. It wasn't like, your buddy's struggling, so let me help him out. No, we were all there. Nobody could get bookings. we're all trying to find work. So it hurt everybody. And so I'm appreciative of guys like Matt,
Matt is definitely a good guy, and some of the other talent that has been on action shows that people have seen. You've actually had matches with a number of people outside of action that people know, like Kevin Ryan, who we talked to this past Sunday, and AC Mack. You had I think at least two really good matches with him that I've seen. Guys like Adam Priest. So it's nice to see that you seem to be like the state of Georgia, like, champion for independent wrestling. Like, I really mean that. Like, looking back at your career and to see where you've wrestled and who you've wrestled, I mean, if there ever was a state champion, it would be you for Georgia.
I pride myself in work. Like, I want to work as much as I can, and that's just instilled for me from a childhood. Like, that's the way I was raised, was work. You got to work to get whatever you want. Nothing gets handed to you, and I believe that. And I have put in the work, and I continue to work, and I'm going to continue to work. And one thing I know I would never want to do is show up or be lazy or take a night off. I'm not going to do it. If I take a booking, I don't care if there's 5 people in the crowd. Whoever it is I'm in the ring with is going to get the best that I have. And there's people who to this day curse me for that and tell me I shouldn't do this and I shouldn't do that. And I'm like, if I go, I'm doing it. I'm doing me. And I'm not toning it down. I don't care, because I do this because I love it. And I'm doing it for the guy I'm in the ring with, because I remember being that guy too, who was getting a shot at somebody, you know what I mean? And I didn't want them to take the night off. It kind of brings you down when that happens. If you're looking forward to a match and then you get there and this guy doesn't want to do anything because he's taking a night off, what does that do? It hurts the spirit. So that's why I don't do it.
Yeah, you go like 110% in the ring, like, every time. I mean, you and was it Bishop or Black that you guys, like, literally, like, broke the ring?
That was Bishop.
And then, like, every time you hit the ropes, I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna snap. They are going to snap.
Listen, I have a bad track record for breaking rings. Okay, I think I'm up to like 4 or 5 now in my career that I've broken. So it's not my fault. I got faulty equipment, man. But you got to buy better rings. So.
There was one match that I watched earlier today when I was looking at some stuff, and I had it on in the background. And I don't know if it was you against O'Shea or you against.
In Tennessee, it was against O'Shea when they broke the corner.
Yeah. Oh, yes, exactly. I was like, oh my God, how did the ring stay up? I mean, holy crap.
It broke.
Yeah.
All right,
oh man.
Let me check. All right.
When you see me hit the ropes and the whole ring slides, that's when you know it's gonna be a good night.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody on the one side of the ring just gets a little bit closer.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take a break from our normal question line. We had a question in the chat from Trisha Ann. She was admiring your tattoos. So maybe you could pick a tattoo or two and see if there's any meaning behind them.
Oh my God, no, there's zero meaning.
Lines and colors.
No, I kind of kept it with the Celtic knot and stuff like that. Now, there's actually, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a face in this one.
Oh yeah.
I wanted it to be done to make it look like armor, basically like short gauntlets on the arm. So that's why both pieces are similar, but there's different designs. There's dragons in this one.
Oh, so. Chuck's favorite. Chuck loves dragons.
I do love dragons.
But no, there's no hidden meaning, nothing. Yeah. Just some tattoos, man. I just wanted some tattoos.
Good looking tattoos.
Yeah.
There you go, Trisha. 2 good looking tattoos. So we started talking about what motivates you, but what interests me is what's next. What are you shooting for? You know, we talk about you being like the state champion of Georgia and putting 110% in every match, but what are you really shooting for? What's the goal?
Uh, that's so hard to answer because everybody's answer to that usually is, oh, I just want to make it, or I just want to get signed, and stuff. And of course, like I want to do this for a living. Like, yes, that's why I'm still doing it. If I didn't at this point, I would just get out because I'm just in the way, honestly, of younger guys. So that is still the goal, and I'm giving myself probably a 4-year window from now and the next 4 years, and depending on what happens with the current situation at MLW, and then afterwards I'll see what happens. My goal is to take that next step after MLW, if needed. If hopefully, and I always say this, I hope that they grow, and become a company that can pay guys, like an AEW or WWE. I really do, or an Impact, which would probably be closer to what they could be able to do. But I hope that I'm able to get them to that because I'm there and I want to do the best job I can. If not, then I hope that the work that I'm doing there will get the attention of some of these bigger companies, and I'll be able to take that next step. And I think it is. And I try to keep in touch with people and keep my network, and make sure that people know what I'm doing and know that. So the opportunities are going to be there.
Yeah.
I just got to keep doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah, we often talk to guys and ladies, and I think the common trend is just stay ready. Just be ready for, whatever could possibly come and whatever opportunity could pop up, because you never know when it's going to come.
No, you don't, and that's the story with MLW, man. It's such a great story. I couldn't have written it any better, because in 2018. Yeah, 2018. It was the end of the year. I just started traveling and training with Austin Theory, and
Great match on YouTube.
yes,
If you haven't seen it,
dude, I'm gonna tell you, dude changed my life, and I can go into that in a whole other talk. But you are the average of the people you surround yourself with. Well, I surround myself with the best. How about that? That's and it did wonders for me. But we were talking, and I was like, I said, I think I was going to be 34, the next 35, and yeah, the next year, 2019. I'm sorry, it all runs together now.
totally understand.
I was like, I said, I'm getting older. I've got a baby now. I've already got 2 kids with Brooklyn. Now we got a baby on the way. I was like, it's kind of trying to figure out what I'm going to do. Like, if something isn't going to happen, then I kind of need to step back and figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. So I just kind of set my birthday that next year as a deadline. And I was going to assess where I was at, assess what was happening, assess the opportunities I'd gotten. And I was like, but I'm not going to just say that and just sit here and wait. So I literally, every day when I went to bed, I would lay in bed and I would find 5 promotions to send my resume to. Wherever they were, whatever I could find, I just sent them. I sent MLW one. I sent one. I sent one everywhere. Any show. May have got 2 responses back out of probably 250 emails, and they were both no's. One was from DJ Hyde at CZW, and I forgot where the other one was from. But so I guess it was July of 2019. I'm in the gym. Day of a show, getting ready to go to the show, and I get a random text message on my phone. Would you be interested in talking to MLW about a contract? I had no clue who this was. And I thought, so I was like, all right, somebody's ribbing me. This is, I know what this is. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, yeah, sure. And then he said, can I call you? So he did. Well, it was George, and George is one of the agents for MLW. And I started talking, and it took me a minute to actually realize that, oh my God, this is serious, So we started talking, and long, it went from there. I started talking to MSL, but I actually signed a contract with MLW on my birthday, August 22nd of 2019.
Nice.
So if there was any more like, hey, this is what you're supposed to be doing, then there it was, because I signed it on the date that I said I was going to decide whether I wanted to quit.
That's a great story.
Now, if our crack research team has this correct,
at
about the same time that this was going on, WWE had called possibly for a tryout as well.
They did, yeah. And Gallows, I've never told this one, so we're just gonna put it out there. Gallows had a lot to do with that, because I assumed it for a long time, but I can confirm it now. That's why I never said anything about it, because I had went to him because he was the closest guy that I knew who had kind of been through that whole process of a contract, and so I knew he would shoot it to me straight with what I needed to do. And literally about 2 or 3 days later, I get a phone call from William Regal. I was actually in the grocery store with the baby, and I look down at my phone and WWE's calling me. So
that's so surreal,
right?
I forgot I had a child for 5 minutes. And was talking to William Regal on the cereal aisle. So, but no, I was gonna do it. I was very open with Court and them at MLW about the opportunity that had been given. They wanted to get me on board by September because they wanted me to start. So I reached out to people that I knew down in Orlando and kind of got a feel for what may happen. And it turned out that I was kind of told to just go with MLW because with my not really having a name backing going in, even if I was to be signed financially, it wouldn't be enough to move me and my family to Orlando. And so that was that was really money. Money's always the end game. That's why I was like, okay, let me wait a little while. And there's no harm, no foul. It turned out I couldn't even go to the. They didn't have an opening anyway, so it had been spring of the next year before I could even went to the tryout.
No.
So I did the right thing, and then you see what happened in 2020.
Yeah.
Because chances are I probably would have been there anyway. So
things happen the way that they're supposed to.
Exactly. I went with my gut and trusted what I should do, and it worked out.
So I got a shout out to the King's wife. Thanks for the sub. She says hi from Georgia. And Trisha Ann is just coming with more questions. So impressive how you do these giant dives to the outside. Even more impressive is when you dive and still land on your feet. Have you practiced that? Is that something that you do in the gym? Just like, hey, I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try diving over the ropes and land on my feet.
No, so this is crazy. The first time I ever did that, I didn't even want to do it. Ace Haven, who I don't know if you're familiar with the name Ace Haven, he runs Pro South Wrestling out of Alabama in Piedmont. They run every Friday night show. Great, I love Ace to death. Known him for years. They brought me into a show, I guess it was probably 10 years ago, in Phoenix City, Alabama. And they had us tagging. And so Ace just like, man, you should dive. And I thought I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. He's like, no, seriously, just do it, man. Never done it, never attempted it. And I did it. And then I was like, oh, that wasn't so bad. Because I have a huge fear of heights. Huge fear of heights. That is legit. I'm terrified. Yeah, I know.
Good thing you're 6'8", 6'10".
I get it. But I'm not afraid to do that anymore. So, I knocked it out. But no, I kind of just, if I think I can do something, then I'm going to do it. I think that's really all it is. Like, if I get it in my head that I can do it, then I just make my body do it. That's the only way I know to describe it.
Was the first dive, was it over the top rope or between?
Yeah. No,
okay.
Over. Yeah. And it was terrible. I wish there was a video of that. You'd get a good laugh. I think my feet hit the ropes and like I half fell side of the ring. it was only up from there. It was only it was only up from there.
There you go. All right, so we've talked a lot about inside the ring. Let's get outside the ring for a little bit. We know you got a family. We see all the memorabilia behind it. We talked a little bit before we got on, but what kind of hobbies are you into? I know wrestling involves a lot of working out, but we don't say that's a hobby. We say other things are the hobby. The working out is part of work, right?
Yeah,
That's work.
The gym's a tax write-off now. That's all that
there
is.
you go.
I have to go. I have to do that. There's a lot of stuff I have to do. No, like I was telling you guys before we started, you see all this stuff behind me. As a kid, my dad and I were really big into baseball card collecting. That was what we did. That was our thing together. And so we still have all that stuff. We have baseballs and signed pictures and signed balls. Just a ton of stuff that we never got rid of anything. We literally don't get rid of anything at my family. I still have toys that my kids play with now from when I was a kid. So yeah,
see the tag belt right there.
Boxes for no reason, you know what I'm saying? So we have another house that just stores stuff that we just keep because we can't throw it away. But no, so nowadays it's video games I'm big into those. I play those with the kids, and I'm still into comics and stuff like that, and toys. I really probably overbuy toys now. That's the new thing. And I'll send you some pictures of that collection too. That's a whole other, yeah. There's an addiction. Yeah.
I don't know if you can see them up. I mean, I got the old wrestling figures up here.
Oh yeah, no, that's yeah.
Mr. Volkov, and then Roddy Piper right there, and then they're everywhere behind me. They're all over the place.
Yeah, have you ever seen the Hot Toys, the 1/6 or 1/8 scale figures from the movies of all the superheroes?
Yes. Oh yeah, those are amazing.
Yeah, okay. So there's just a room with shelves of those, the Batmobile, like everything, man. I gotta get signed at a big company so I can afford this addiction. Like it's not even about my family, really. I just need to buy
anybody, help this man out. Come on.
I really just want to buy toys, guys. That's really what this is all about.
We're gonna start a new fundraiser just for you to buy toys.
Yeah,
help Logan buy toys.
Help me buy toys, please.
So,
is it my? Is it?
You're up.
Are you going? I'm up.
You're
up.
Man.
I saw one of the questions that came across in the chat was, in particular about MLW. Now, when you started, you had the name Grogan, and then you kind of morphed back into Logan Creed, and now you're into somebody else. Can you talk about that?
Let's see.
Similar build.
Yeah,
possibly. You guys look the same.
I can say this about it. It was really, really out of nowhere. But one thing you hear wrestlers say all the time is that we're artists. We call ourselves artists now. Well, to me, this was such a huge opportunity to paint a whole new picture and really dig in to something different. And I think that's important, you know what I mean, to do. And I really just embraced it and took it, when they gave it to me, and man, they're happy, and that's what matters. And I'm happy because, like I said, it's given me a new direction. It's given me some new things to play with. It's given me some new ideas. And it's working. So yeah, we look a lot alike. But there's so many options there with it in the future. Even going back to Logan Creed. So I'll leave it at that because I don't want to spoil things. But there's a whole lot good that can and probably is going to happen with that in the future, where it'll entertain both.
Nice. So. And that character has that person who looks somewhat like you has aligned himself with a pretty good group of guys in the contra unit.
Yeah.
If you don't watch MLW, you should.
No, yeah, it's something when somebody comes to you and tells you you're gonna be the monster for Fatu, uh, who I look at and I'm like, that dude needs a monster.
Right?
But you know that says a lot. That says a lot about what they see in my ability. You know what I mean? And like I said, they're happy. You know, they took a chance on it and it worked.
That's what counts. That's what counts. So we're gonna stay out of the ring, but still be talking a little bit about wrestling. So traveling. You've been in and all around the state of Georgia, in Florida, up and down the East Coast. Do you have any funny, interesting, sometimes horrific traveling stories that you can tell us?
That's a yes. That's a yes.
Man, so God, all right. I'm not gonna say this guy's name because
Protect. Yeah.
Understood.
it would embarrass the hell out of him. But I will say, so you guys know Odinson, right? From the Inn, Odinson and Perry. You've seen the tag team?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we were doing FIP, Odinson and I would always travel down to WWN FIP in Tampa, just because it was easy and we were always on the show together. Well, this particular trip, we had took another guy with us, and he got an opportunity, wrestled, had a great match. But we were driving back that same night, so it's 2 a.m. The other guys asleep in the back seat. Me and Otis are talking and listening to music or whatever, and we just get this smell, like just hard, you know, just really. And I thought it was a paper mill. I was like, man, it's like terrible. So after a few minutes, I was like, dude, what is that? So this guy jumps up from the back seat and is like, I need to stop. Okay, cool. So so we pull off. He goes inside. We're standing out there and we're kind of walking around stretching. And I reach back in and I'm like, dude, whatever that is in here. So Owens just sticks his head back in the truck and he turns around and it, like the look on his face, it was just the best moment. And I'll never forget because it was like a half horrified but half smile. And Odinson just said he shit himself. And dude, I swear to God, we laughed for 30 minutes. And I didn't think the dude was going to come out of the bath. Like he was so embarrassed to come out. And it was, but we hosed him the whole way home for another 4.5 hours. It was every to be made. Like it got to the point where I was embarrassed for him, so I just quit picking on him. But Odinson just did not cut him any slack, man. Any slack. That was. I'm trying to remember if there's any other, but that was the most recent one that I have like vivid memories of.
That's a pretty good one. That's a good one. I don't think we've had anybody have something like that happen yet, dude, that we've talked to.
No defecating in the car rides.
I'll give the dude, man. He cleaned my truck. Like he was so apologetic. I mean, it's one of those things, man. I mean, come on, we've all been there at some point in our life. Like, you know, just not with a group of wrestlers on the road. The worst thing you could possibly do. But to his credit, I did tell him, I was like, man, I'll never tell anybody. And I did tell you guys, but I didn't.
Well, we don't know who it is, so you didn't tell anybody.
That's right.
It could be anyone.
Yeah.
And those of you that have never smelled what a paper mill smells like,
oh, it's terrible.
A paper mill is like the rottenness of eggs you'll ever smell, and it doesn't like go away. It gets in your nostrils and it stays.
It does.
So
I'm so glad. I mean, I'm not so glad, but I'm happy that they no longer have the paper mill close to where I live in Pennsylvania, because I have the creek on one side that smells like ass. I got the paper mill on the other side, and then formatting the triangle to a point, I have the Starbucks coffee factory that you can smell the burning of like the coffee beans, and it is terrible.
Going on.
It is, dude. It is. Depending on. Oh, and then when I worked near oh man, what is near the Amish people? You have the by all the farms, man. It's the manure. Those are the four smells out here in Pennsylvania. That's all you get. That's all you get.
It's just paper mill in Savannah.
That's all. Yeah, Georgia. That's just paper mill.
Yeah. All right, so here we are. We're at favorites. We'll try to switch it up a little bit. We talked about toys, so I need to know what your favorite toy that you own is.
Ooh.
Oh, Snake Mountain. The He-Man Snake Mountain.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's just my favorite because I just got it. So
how big? So you're a big guy. How big is Snake Mountain?
Oh man, God, I wish I had it. Like, I guess I could get it. Dude, it's like waist high to me. So waist high to me, and probably it's big.
Holy cow!
It's so big. Yeah.
This guy signed this man so he could pay for not only his toys
Yeah,
but the house to fill his toys.
Yeah.
No, dude, if I ever like that, there will be a basement. And it will just be, I'll play with them again. Nobody will ever see me again if I ever get that. Like, I'm just going to be playing with toys like I'm 13 again.
We don't judge. We don't judge.
I don't care. I'm too big for anybody to judge me anyway. So.
Exactly. Exactly. It's like the tweets that I put out in the promotion for this. I was like, dude, if you don't want to show up, that's on you because this man might take you out somehow. He will reach through the screen.
It's possible. It's possible. All right, so we know your love of superheroes. Who's the favorite superhero?
Probably got to be Incredible Hulk. I always loved the Hulk. And I think just because I related to that character so much, like, you know what I mean? It was rage, and then it was just kind of quiet and laid back, and that was kind of who I was. I was very quiet and reserved until I was pissed off, and then it was hard to turn that off. So I related to that.
I get that too.
Oh yeah, it's like two of the same coin. So let's go to the other side of the coin. Favorite superhero villain?
Oh man, this is gonna be an oddball one, but I was always a fan of Mojo from the X-Men. I don't know if you remember Mojo.
Yes.
Yeah, dude, what an interesting character that was. You know what I mean? Like, it was just so out there and so off the wall, but he was insane. You know what I mean? It was such a great character. But no, I love that character. Especially when I started getting into the X-Men and reading the comics and stuff, I'm like, man, this dude's like insane. And then I love, of course, the old cartoon that used to come on in the 90s.
Oh, it's the
Like,
best.
God, I love the way they portrayed him in that. So yeah.
So you talked a little bit about your sports fandom, and obviously there's great memories when it comes to attending sporting events. Do you have a favorite sporting event memory?
Probably from when I was playing football, my senior year. We had a crosstown rival that we played every year, and it was like a really big deal. I mean, there were fights in the grocery store parking lot between the Vidalia players and the Lions players, like during the week, and it was a big thing. But we weren't that great my senior year, and so we had beat them 7 years in a row. And they kind of felt like that was going to be, they had a really good team. That was going to be their year. They were going to finally beat us. They had put it in the newspaper in town, like quotes from the players talking about, what they were going to do and how, it built it up pretty big, man. It was like, it was going to be a huge match. You want to talk about wrestling. I remember the crowd that night actually was the first time there were people that had to sit on the heel of the field. It's kind of they call it the pit, and it kind of looks like a coliseum. The bleachers go around it. It was crazy, but we won the game 16-9, and we actually stopped them on 4th and goal from the 2-yard line.
Oh wow!
And I actually helped make the tackle. So that moment, like, you want to talk about like when you know that you want to be in front of a crowd the rest of your life, because I like rip my helmet off and I'm standing in the middle of the field just screaming at the other side, just like talking mad shit, like everybody there. Yeah, that was the moment where I was like, yeah, I want to do this. I want to do this. But no, that's a memory that I'll never ever forget.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, let's get back in the wrestling ring. You're a big guy. Who's your favorite big man wrestler in wrestling history?
It's got to be Taker. Right? Just at the start, just because I've taken so much from him in what I do in the ring. I really am a student of his, and never met him, but I watch in matches all the time. Especially I'm the kind of guy that when I've got a match coming up and I know what I'm doing, who it's going to be against, I'll go try to find a similar style where Taker had a match with somebody of a similar style and just study it and see how he did it, and then of course implement myself into it. But I just really think he got it. He understood. He not only understood how to be a big man, but he understood how to sell and make it believable and get. One thing that's hard for a big guy to do is get sympathy from a crowd. And he was good at that. Without looking like he was dying. Or he could get that sympathy just with his eyes and his facials. And so I love that about him, was his ability to get a crowd behind him when he was getting beat, because without saying a word, without doing anything, he could just look and he could give those looks and it would pull him in, So I've tried to steal a lot of that and use that in my own career.
So that leads me to the next question, because there was many different versions of the Undertaker.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
Which version of the Undertaker is your favorite?
Yeah, I did not like Biker Taker. And I don't know. Now I go back and I watch some of it. And now that I'm not watching as a fan, I actually do enjoy it. But at the time, I couldn't. As that young kid, as a fan, I hated it. I was so mad. I wanted my Undertaker back. But now I go back and watch some of his matches, and he did such a good job of changing up his style. Not over the top, but it was different. And it was just enough that it made it feel different. So, and he had some really good matches as Black Taker too. Like there was some good stuff. I actually just watched WrestleMania 18 earlier today, and the match he and Ric Flair had, that was a good match. So all I do is watch wrestling.
Just constantly watching wrestling.
Yeah, I do.
While playing with toys.
I'll have it on in the background, almost like it's a podcast. Like I'm just listening to a match be called, like listening to them call it, and I know what's happening just by the call. So if I hear something I want to see, I'll just turn and look and watch it. But
that's smart. If you ever just need something in the background like a podcast, you could always go to YouTube/The Bald Monkeys, and
that's exactly right.
You might find that there.
You might.
All right, let's see. I want to know, do you prefer wrestling other big men or wrestling smaller wrestlers? Because you kind of mentioned the style of Taker, and Taker was always known for putting on really good matches with smaller wrestlers. And that was always interesting, that he was able to make them look stronger, even though he was much bigger than them. So what's your preference when you get in a ring?
Yeah, up until recently, I would always have said the smaller guy, because I agree. It's easier for me to do exactly what you just said and put on a really good match and make a guy look really strong. Kevin Ryan, we mentioned him earlier. That was me, and the match he and I had at Southern Honor. That was still one of my favorite matches. If you've never seen it, like, I loved that match. Loved it. I would love to do it again now, because I know where I was at then and where I am now and how much better I've gotten since then. I would love to see it again. But but now the match that I had with Orion Bishop, dude, you can't beat that. I mean, it was just as clean as day. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm the world's worst. Like, I pick my stuff apart worse than anybody. Nobody will ever critique me worse than I critique myself. And I had to watch it like 5 or 6 times just so I could find something to bitch at myself about. You know? But no, that's so recently, you know, there's guys my size now that are emerging on the scene who have that same mindset I do. You know, and most of them, because most of them are already in the AEWs and you know, they are already there. And so they're kind of off the radar. You can't work with them anymore. But they're starting to come back out and you know, they're hungry, you know, because for years the big guy, I feel like the big guy kind of got shunned. You know, wrestling kind of took a turn and nobody wanted a big guy around because they had a reputation for not wanting to do business and not wanting to work with guys. And it hurt, you know, it hurt us. And I still get it sometimes. Sometimes I still, you know, it's always good to have that conversation where somebody's like, man, I expected you to be so different and not want to do this. And I'm like, nah, bro, I showed up to work. Like, let's go to work.
It's a job, man.
But no, it's good. And like I said, there's more coming out. And I hope it continues to happen because the ability for 2 big guys to have good matches, it is such a different feeling in the room. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter how many matches you've had or what's happened on a card. You put 2 300-pounders that are over 6'5" in a ring together, people look at it different. It feels different.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It gets your, I mean, just gets your blood, like everything rises. You're like, holy, this is about to happen. Like these 2 guys might like kill each other, the ring, us.
You don't know. And then it adds even more to it. Like I said, when, they're not just, you know, Frankenstein monstering around the ring. Like they're actually athletic and they're doing stuff. And so that it blows people's minds.
Diving through the ropes, diving over the ropes.
That's right.
All that stuff.
Well, you got to step over them and then you dive out of them and then I go home.
Yeah.
That is what I do. I step over the rope, I roar, and then I dive out of the ring, and that's the end of the match.
That's it. See you later. All right, let's dream book. Let's dream book a match. So you get one match, you get one opponent, and you get the arena to have it in. What's that match? What's that opponent? What's that arena?
Oh, I would work Shawn Michaels in Madison Square Garden.
It's an excellent choice.
Because if you're going to have a big guy, little guy match, you might as well get the best little guy for the big guy, little guy match. And that would be him.
In the world's most famous arena.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you got to go to Madison Square Garden. Got to.
Chuck, you got any random favorites like you always do?
Oh, of course, man. Well, we talked about, you know, comic books and superheroes. Do you have a favorite superhero movie?
I liked Endgame a lot. I've watched it too many times to count to. That's like my go to sleep movie. I put it on and I fall asleep listening to Thanos talk. But
it's like 3.5 hours or something like that. So
it's a lot of talking.
Yeah. I'm a fan of all of them. I don't really have a favorite. I watch them religiously. Like I said, Disney Plus is the best thing that ever happened because now they're all on there, so I can just play them over and over again. But yeah, Endgame was probably my favorite one.
Have you watched WandaVision?
I'm fixing to start it. I haven't yet because I want to let them I like just binge watching stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't I hate watching something and then have to cut oh no, I can't watch the next episode right now because I've got 12 hours of free time. I need to watch all this.
Yep. My wife is the same way. If it's just one episode, she's like, no. We gotta wait. Gotta wait. Yeah. Okay, you're in the gym. You're getting that tax write-off now. What are you listening to when you're working out?
Dude, my playlist is so bipolar. We may go.
We love it here. We love that answer here.
We may go from Cradle of Filth to Anya. Like that. We're talking. That broad of a freaking spectrum,
He
dude.
he is a man after my own musical heart. I love that.
And anything and everything in between.
Nice.
Music. I love music, and I always say like I can't sing, I can't play any instrument. So my music, you know, my music taste is everywhere because I can't do it. So I just appreciate it. I appreciate music and what it is, especially music that speaks to me.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I put so much emphasis on the songs that I listen to because every one that I have that I save, it says there was a reason. You know, there's some type of emotion backing for it. So that's a big part of it too. And like I said, in the gym, it doesn't it depends on how I'm feeling that day. You know, if I'm
Yeah.
like kind of chill and relaxed, like it probably is gonna be classical, like really salt, like chilled out music. And I'm still look like I'm I'm probably listening to metal, but I'm not. And then some days it needs to be metal just because you know it's one of those days. So
Yep. Now, if you could pick any band to write your entrance music, who would it be?
man, oh dude, Tool,
Okay.
yeah, they're my
Nice.
favorite. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, it have to be Tool.
Have you seen them live?
No, and I want to, and I don't know if I'm ever going to get to. But you know, I would like to, and I love like Pussifer. Like I'm sure you know, like man,
Oh
I
yeah.
like I like some of their stuff more than I do Tool.
Okay.
But no, I love that group, man. If they were, if I had a song, I would want them to write it.
Nice. Okay, you're on the road. We talked about the funny road stories before. Where are you stopping to get your snacks to get you through the trip? Where's your favorite
Oh,
place?
dude, if there's a Wawa, we're going to Wawa. Absolutely. I haven't tried this new Bucky's. Is the Bucky's the new place? Have you heard about this? You seen
I'm up
no?
north.
Bucky's
I'm
is
up
the
north.
oh.
It's like a dude. I thought it was a grocery store, and it's just like it's a gas station. But
Oh
evidently
wow.
they got this amazing food that I've got to get. So I'm planning on making a trip there as soon as I possibly can.
Nice.
Because I hear everybody talking about it now. But yeah, Wawa was the when I got introduced to that. That changed my life.
It is pretty good. Here in PA, we got Rudders, which is local to like the central area, and then there's Sheets, and Sheets is in a whole bunch of different places too.
I've heard people talk about Sheets.
They have good late night food.
I'll be in West Virginia tomorrow night. I don't know if there's any in West Virginia, but I'm gonna have to see if I can check it out.
There might
Maybe.
be. Yeah,
Yeah.
there might be.
Probably.
I Sheets is like Parker's on steroids. Like that's
Okay.
essentially
All right.
Sheets. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right,
Okay.
now
We know way too much about gas stations.
that's all we do. Like I probably spend as much time in gas stations as I do a ring.
Okay, last favorite one, and then I'll let Chris get to his next question. But you've been around the world, per se. What's your favorite city to wrestle in?
Man, I really like Philadelphia, in the ECW arena when we went there with MLW. I think that was the first time in so long that like I was legit that nervous, like almost gonna throw up nervous feeling had come back since years earlier in wrestling. Not that I don't still get excited, but there's not any more of that fear. But that was man, I was super stoked that night for that match just because I knew where I was and I was doing the dive like and like that was like on that was one of the things that was told to me before. It's like, hey, I want you to do the dive because this crowd will love it. And I'm like, oh, now you put the pressure on, like do it anyway, but now you're telling me to do it, sir. No, it was that was cool, and the fans up there are every bit, you know, is wild and fun to wrestle in front of as I'd always heard. So
Definitely.
Nothing like a Philly crowd.
man.
Well, nothing like a New York crowd, and the next thing to that is a Philly crowd. That's
Right.
That's
I
a New
haven't- so I
Yorker
haven't-
saying that. So
I haven't got to come to New York yet. We were supposed to before the shutdown happened, so I am looking forward to that. And I know it's coming soon. So
That's all I
All
got,
right.
Christopher.
That was it. That's our favorites. We made it all the way through. So we started at the beginning. We've gotten through the wrestling training. We've gotten through some of your current wrestling, some of your hopes and dreams for wrestling, some of your hobbies outside the ring. Through all that, I'm giving you an opportunity to go back and talk to 10-year-old Logan. What would you tell 10-year-old Logan if you had the opportunity to have a conversation with him?
I wouldn't tell him anything. I would not want. I don't want to change anything that's happened, good and bad, all of it, because it's made me who I am. You know, I've never had a desire, because I feel like if you look back, and that's all you're ever doing is just looking back and wishing you could have done something different. And what's the point? You know what I mean? We're not, it's never going to get to. So just ride it. You know, the decisions I made, the choices I made, whether they were good or bad, turned me into the person I am today. And I'm glad and I'm happy with the person I am today. So I don't want to fix it.
Good answer.
Great answer.
Yeah. Now, you're taking that trip back in time. Are you in the DeLorean from Back to the Future, or are you gonna be in the phone booth from Bill and Ted?
Oh man, probably the phone booth, bro.
Yes.
How could you not pick the DeLorean? I am amazed by anyone that picks the phone booth.
I went to Universal. Like, I've already been in the DeLorean. I never.
That's the best. See, I already know you. So you've seen the good Universal with Back to the Future, Jaws, and King Kong. Like those three rides. Like that was.
Yes. I haven't been since they changed everything either. So I will say though, I got to go to Harry Potter World because I'm a little bit of a Harry Potter nerd. Okay. So I'm looking forward to that. Nice. And nerding out. I may have to cover my face, not let people see me when I do that.
I think I know somebody who can lend you a mask.
Wait, now, Chris, you brought up King Kong. Now, there's a new movie coming out. Are you on Team King Kong or Team Godzilla?
That war. I want that war to happen. Like, I want people arguing about it. I loved those movies growing up, man. I was such a God. We watched all of those. I'm definitely Godzilla fan. So, yeah. If I actually put the tweet out the other day, if Kong wins, we riot. Like I'm causing a scene. I mean, they're gonna shut the theater down again because I'm breaking stuff.
I mean, it's true. It's like no contest. Godzilla doesn't even have to be anywhere near you.
Well, how much gas did they put Kong on to get him big enough to fight Godzilla in this movie? Like, what is he on?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. We got all the right answers right there. And we're at the last question.
Got a few extra right answers, too.
True. And we're at the last question. And I think, Christopher, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we've already asked Logan this question. But we're going to ask it again because we're live here on Twitch. And it's Thursday Night Live. And everybody wants to know your cookie preference when it comes to Oreos. Are you on Team Single Stuff, the classic Oreo, or Team Double Stuff?
No, double stuff, triple stuff, all of them. Yeah.
This has been the greatest interview that we have ever had. Every answer has been correct. You, sir, have won Final Jeopardy.
My 2-year-old is he's on Team Just the Cream because he takes it apart and he eats that and he just throws them in the floor. So he literally wants nothing to do with the cookie. He just wants to take it apart. He eats the cream off and he throws it in the floor. So,
oh man, they really should like come out with like, you know how they have the like the vanilla icing for cakes.
Yeah,
Oreo should they do have that.
They do have it. Yeah, I forgot where else. I got it from a store one time, from a grocery store. Oh, maybe on the baking aisle.
I gotta check that out.
Hey, you gotta get into baking, man. So
that's what my kid's for. She loves to bake. She bakes all of our cakes. She even bakes her own cake for her own birthday because she likes to bake so much.
Man, see, I married a wrestler. I didn't marry a housewife, so I have to cook. That's what anybody ever wonders about marrying a wrestler. What it's like to, yeah. You're marrying a wrestler. No, I love her. I'm sorry if you're listening. Don't kill me.
Well, we made it all the way to the end, Logan. We really appreciate you joining us tonight. We had a lot of fun. Thanks everybody in the chat for hanging out. But Logan, let everybody know where they can find you out in social media, how they can go support you. We've some people asked if you had a fan club, and where can they buy merch. They want to know.
Merchandise, yep.
They want everything Logan Creed.
So merchandise wise, you can go over to Pro Wrestling Tees at the Heathen Logan Creed at Pro Wrestling Tees. And check out my t-shirts there. You can also go to the MLW shop at Pro Wrestling Tees, and I have some t-shirts there as well. Social media is at the Logan Creed on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Also at the Mads Kruger is the demon that lives inside of me. You can follow him on Twitter. And then I also have t-shirts available. You can just direct message me on any of those social media apps. And I have t-shirts that I can mail out, pictures, 8x10s, anything you want, koozies, bracelets, you name it, I probably got it.
Hey, look at that.
There it is. There's the koozie right there.
He's got stuff. Reach out to him, talk to him. He'll give you stuff. Trisha's already reached out to you. Don't worry.
That's right.
You got a message now.
Her stuff is on the way. Trisha, your stuff's on the way. I promise.
Your stuff's on the
There
way.
you go.
Yeah, I can't help that the mail carriers won't ship stuff right.
Oh, that's a whole other podcast in and of
That's
itself.
another podcast.
Oh God. My dad hates me because I'm like I sent him a birthday card a week and a half before his birthday. We don't live that far away from each other. It should get there in like 3 days. He gets it 21 days later.
Yeah, it's been rough.
After his birthday.
I've been shipping out some t-shirts and stuff, recently, and everything's really backed up. I know it took almost a month for one guy to get his stuff, and I feel bad for it, but guys, I promise there's nothing I can do. When I get the requests and you send me money, I'm sending your stuff as soon as I get to a post office, I promise.
Hey, it just makes for a nice surprise when it does show up.
That's right.
True.
That's all. So,
True.
Logan, thanks for joining us. Everybody in the chat, thanks for hanging out. As always, go check out any of our interview series over on YouTube. You can come jump on the Bald Monkeys channel on Twitch and check us out. We do have the donations out there still. We are still raising money for indie wrestling. We got something else in the works that we're really excited about that we can't announce yet, but we're just incredibly gushing on how cool it's going to be. So stay tuned for that. Logan, good luck to you. Whatever comes next, I'll probably see you at Action Wrestling at some point down the road, and I'm
Yes,
sure
you will.
It'll be amazing again. So
Thank you guys. Brad, I appreciate it, man. And thanks everybody watching and sending in questions. I appreciate you guys. Y'all have a good night.
everybody have a good time.